So we're at NAB 2019 at the Canon booth, and we're going to talk about how it's possible that every Oscar-nominated documentary has been shot on Canon. Red Shark's NAB coverage is brought to you by New Tech, G Technology, Blackmagic Design, and Adobe. So Tim, why is that?
You know, it sort of feels like we're an overnight success when it comes to documentaries, and we're clearly dominating that category, but it didn't happen overnight. 1997, there was a film called Spellbound, shot on XL1s, shot and nominated for an Academy Award, which blew our minds in '97. It was all shot on mini DV tape with our first XL1 interchangeable lens, high-level consumer-prosumer camera. It ended up not winning. Bowling for Columbine, I think, won that year. But Jeffrey Blitz did this film called Spellbound, which just sent us on this road. This year, though, was the first time we've ever dominated the category so completely. 5 for 5. Last year was Icarus, shot on Canon. It won, but not every film last year. The year before that, Nick Higgins' film on O.J. Simpson won, and that was shot on Canon. So 3 years in a row we've won. This year, though, it was a lock. It was guaranteed, whatever was going to come up when that envelope opened, that it was shot on a Canon camera. That's pretty amazing. We've only been playing in this space really seriously since the C300. And that was 7 years, 7 years ago. It's not long to go from not having a camera for documentaries to dominating the industry when it comes to those things. It's a combination of things. Price point obviously plays into it, size, weight. I think in a lot of cases the color science has to be right, and it is. And the low light performance for documentaries is really important because you shoot in any kind of an environment. And we sort of excel in both of those things. So we sort of became this really natural fit. We love documentaries.
So what about, like, that's the camera side of it. I guess you're supplying a lot of glass as well with these productions?
Yeah, well, in the case of Free Solo, which Jimmy Chin did, all the glass was Canon. In the case of RBG, I can tell you all the glass was Canon. On the other ones, I'm not sure exactly whether it was all Canon or not, but that's fine, because there was also a documentary shot last year that weren't on our cameras that used our glass, so I'm going to call that a win. Our glass is also very popular, especially the still lenses, like what you're using here on your camera. You've got an EOS lens, a camera designed for our still cameras, at a price point that's pretty reasonable, which is critical for docs. You know, the cinema world, if you're shooting a blockbuster, you usually have more money than time. Doc is more time than money, because sometimes you shoot for a year or two. So documentary filmmakers tend to purchase instead of rent, and it's a big outlay of cash that they have to have for quite a bit of time. So price clearly plays into the doc world, but there's no longer an excuse for an image that isn't beautiful. I think maybe from the 5D days all those years ago, when all of a sudden $2,500, $3,000 cameras had this very cinematic look to them, and all of a sudden the whole level was raised for what an audience would watch. It wasn't just about whatever you could shoot with. And the bar has been raised in the doc world, clearly in the doc world. Almost anything you used to get away with. So
yeah. Now, if I'm trying to be critical here, I would say that I'm still amazed that everything is Canon then, because there's obviously competitors that will do at least a good job at also bringing out like cameras at a price point that might be interesting for documentary makers. So what is it that makes it that people just tend to choose Canon, especially in this realm?
Documentary filmmakers are extremely loyal, and they do stick with what they know. I think a lot of them learned Canon in school. Now they're out of school. You kind of get them when they get that, and they're very used to staying that way. Price point clearly plays into it, but there are manufacturers making competitive price point cameras. I don't think anybody, though, has nailed our color science or our low light performance, and those become critical. Also, the availability of the product. We're, I think, at 10.5 billion EF mount lenses have been made since we produced that. They are everywhere. You can get them everywhere. Sometimes they're $30 to rent, and you're in a camera store in a town that doesn't have a cinema house. You can still go rent it from a camera store, pick up used ones on eBay. I think it's all of that, actually. You know, some of it is by engineer, by design, and some of it is sort of a perfect storm for us, but clearly we hit it out of the park in the doc world.
Can you, like, I've been watching Free Solo,
yeah,
and I was amazed by what like the image quality. Like, I know that they had a great color correction company helping them,
yeah,
but still there's something in the footage that feels very, I'd call it textural, natural, something really organic maybe?
Yes, and I would let's get technical for a second then instead of being organic. There's a thing that Canon does with their sensors all the way from the original C300 where there is no fixed pattern noise. So I'm going to get technical for a little bit, but a conventional video camera has what's called a fixed pattern. So the noise that's in there is always in the same spot. Canon sensors, the noise is always in a different spot, frame for frame. So it's not fixed, which gives it more of a film grain look to it, because that noise spot that was here is now over here, or here, or here. So it always has this movement. And I think that's sort of, from an audience standpoint, I think when there's not a lot of action, when it's just a head and shoulders kind of interview, it still feels like there's something going on. And that's sort of what I get from a Canon sensor. That no fixed pattern noise, you know, the way it fires the photo sights on the sensor, I think plays into that. Jim, you know, Free Solo was spectacular. I mean, I loved watching that movie, and I knew how it came out. I mean, I met the man. I know that he's not going to fall, but I'm still just gripping and heart racing. It was brilliant filmmaking on top of all that. So it was sort of the perfect storm of things. And yes, it was probably a film with a little higher budget than most for docs. Yeah, clearly. But Jimmy can command that. So.
What interests me is like you do like a kind of a service as well. Especially you guys, like for Free Solo, you basically help filmmakers along, right?
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, we it's not a market that we just sell to and say good luck with it. You know, it's a market that we're there for. We have a beautiful facility in Burbank, which is where a lot of this starts, where they can come prep, they can come test. We can put it up on big screens, we can pixel peep. We can say, which lens do you think is going to be the best lens for this? And the lenses are there, so they can try them. You could do that in a prep house, but it's a little different when you're because you're not renting there. You want to be able to come somewhere and have a casual thing, look, I'm going to buy this lens and use it for the next 2 years, but I need to try 10 to decide which one to buy. You can't really do that at your average camera store without getting tossed out. So Burbank is a huge resource for filmmakers. We're open Monday through Friday, full service department. We've got a color grade suite, we've got prep bays, we've got a 4K edit suite, and it's all there just to test. So yeah, we're absolutely there to support our filmmakers.